Welcome back to the SEO Fundamentals for Writers training course from StoryChief and me, Liam Carnahan, your content and SEO coach from inkwellcontent.com. If you follow all of the advice we've put into these videos so far, you are well on your way to creating content that's going to have a major impact on the amount of traffic coming to your website. But how do you know if all of this hard work you're putting into your SEO strategy is actually paying off? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this final video. It's important to remember that SEO is not necessarily the fastest form of digital marketing. While clearing up some of those technical issues we talked about in the beginning of this training session will help speed things up maybe pretty quickly, in most cases, it's going to take at least a few weeks, if not a few months, before you really see any direct impact from the SEO content you're creating. Now, as time goes on, things will get faster and kind of increase like a snowball effect, but you'll need to be patient at the start. There are a number of factors that impact how quickly SEO will work for you. If you want to learn more about that, check out this blog from my article where I go through the 7 questions you can ask to find out how quickly SEO is going to take. Now, one of the most important tools for any SEO writer to have in their toolbox is Google Analytics. This free platform from Google will monitor all of the traffic coming to your website and give you some really valuable insights on how your search engine optimization is going. I'll be honest, Google Analytics isn't always the most user-friendly place, and there's often a pretty steep learning curve if you haven't used it before. It also may take some legwork to get it set up on your website if you haven't already. Google has plenty of guides on how to do it, as well as guides on how to use the platform itself. Here's a few links you can check out for starters. Once you have Google Analytics up and running, you'll be able to take a look at all of the content on your site and see how it's performing. Once you have Google Analytics all set up, this is what it will look like when you open your dashboard. For most content creators, the most important information will be hosted right here on the left-hand side in this column under Behavior, Site Content, and Landing Pages. This screen will show you how much organic traffic is coming to your website. You can adjust the date range and even compare different segments of time to see how things are improving. Down below, you'll see a list of all the pages on your website, ranked by the pages that brought in the most organic traffic over the time period you've selected. In general, you want to see a steady increase in organic traffic over time. This will tell you that more traffic is coming to your website through search, and really the only way to do that is by creating SEO strong content and following the advice that we've gone over in this training. There are some figures down here below the graph that can give you even deeper insight into how each page that you've worked on is performing. Here are the important metrics to pay attention to in this section. Sessions is essentially how many interactions a single page has had in any given time period. This can mean people visiting a web page once or multiple times, but the higher number of sessions you have coming in, the more organic traffic you've pulled in through your content on that page. One of the main goals of writing SEO content is to bring new people to your website. And these columns titled % of new sessions and new users show you exactly how many of those visits to any given page were from someone who has never ever visited your website before. That's pretty exciting. More new users means your content is helping people find the website you're working on, and that's obviously a pretty good thing. The next 3 columns tell you about the ways users are interacting with your content. Bounce rate is the only number on this list that we want to keep low, because a bounce is when someone comes to a page on your website and then they close it all out before they go anywhere else. Keep in mind that blogs typically have higher bounce rates between 70 and 80% compared to other pages on your website, which will be far lower. But if you're much higher than 85%, it's a good indication that something's unappealing about your website or your blog. It may be that the website is really slow, or the font is hard to read, or that the page is broken. Pages per session tells you how many pages a user visited on your website before they closed it out. When you add links to related content within your blog and other internal links to your most important pages, you'll likely see this number go up, and that's a good thing to have people reading more than one page on your website during one session. Finally, the session duration tells you how long, on average, users spent on a page before they went to a different page or closed out your website. For long-form content like blogs over 1,000 words, it's a really good sign if people are spending 2 or 3 minutes on a page. That indicates that they're reading the whole thing and really engaging with your content, which is a super important metric to keep on top of. You can also set your own unique goals in Google Analytics if you want to track certain actions a user takes. For example, you might set up a goal to see if users visited your pricing page or filled out a submission form or downloaded a piece of content. Setting up goals can be a little bit complex, but Google has some training documents to help with that. And of course, there's SEO folks like me out there who can help with this kind of thing too. Another important SEO tool that you can use to monitor success also comes from Google, and it's what's known as Google Search Console. It's very important to set up Google Search Console for SEO purposes, not only to improve your relationship with Google's search algorithm, but also to gather even more important insights about how your SEO traction is coming. In addition to giving you visibility on things like broken or slow pages or mobility issues that might be harming your technical SEO, you can use Google Search Console to look at what keywords people are typing into Google to eventually end up on your website. Visit the Performance section on the left-hand menu and select Search Results. Down at the bottom, you'll see a list of queries that people typed in to end up on your website. If you see terms in here that match some of the SEO terms you've been targeting with your content, well, that's a pretty clear indication that what you're doing is working. But you can also use these queries down here to give you inspiration for the next time you do keyword research or just for a great topic idea. Lastly, some of the tools we've mentioned earlier in this training can also help you monitor your SEO. In both Ahrefs and SEMrush, you can set up tracking on certain keywords to see if your rankings for those keywords are moving up and down. This can tell you how close you are to getting to the almighty first page and which keywords might be losing traction and need a little bit of SEO maintenance to regain what they've lost. There's a lot more to explore in both Google Analytics and Google Search Console. So that's your homework for this video. If you haven't yet, try to set up both of these tools on your website. If you already have done that, then log in and start poking around. Look at the data that I've covered in this video. Take some notes on which pages are performing well, what keywords your users are using to find you, and how people are behaving on your site with specific pieces of content. Once you start to feel a little more familiar with these tools, come back here for one last video to wrap up everything.